This video is to show you how to do template applique. You're going to need a few supplies. You can use a lightweight cardboard like a cereal box. You don't want to use the big box store cereal boxes because they're too thick. Or you can use freezer paper, and you can put 2 or 3 sheets together and iron them together to be as thick as the cardboard would. You're going to need your pattern, and you need to get this pattern onto the freezer paper. And so you're going to need just a regular sheet of freezer paper to do the pattern. So here's a piece of freezer paper, and you can just trace around your shape, and usually you can see through it just fine, and you're going to trace on the right side. So here's that little bird. You trace the pieces separately so the wing and the bird body are separate from each other. Then you're going to iron that traced piece onto the cardboard side of the cardboard, or you can iron this onto 2 other pieces of freezer paper. And then you're going to cut out, and you can see I didn't trace very accurately, and you can cut much straighter than you can trace. So you're just going to cut out that shape, and you want to cut as straight and smoothly as you can. So in other words, if you have a little bump on the edge of your cardboard, you will have a bump when you turn the fabric around it. And I'm just going to round that out right there a little bit more and not stay within my lines. Okay, so I've got the bird cut out, and I'm going to look at it to see if there's anything that I need to fix. Looks pretty good. Usually around corners and curves, I try and get them as smooth as possible. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to tear off the freezer paper, and I don't stick it on there super heavy because I like to use this now as my pattern. So here's my bird fabric. I'm going to iron just the freezer paper onto the right side of the fabric, and then I'm going to cut that out using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now don't be stingy on these seam allowances. Some other forms of applique you want a scant 1/4, but this one you'll need your 1/4 inch. And you can always trim it less if it seems to be too bulky. So do a 1/4 inch seam. And then you're going to tear off the freezer paper and lay it right side down on your ironing board. The next thing you're going to need is some starch. And I always just have a little bowl, and I just squirt the starch right in that bowl. And then you're going to need a paintbrush or a Q-tip. And this is a size 8, or let's see, this is a 10 round, and it's just a really inexpensive tool painting brush. And I'm going to just dip that into the starch and paint all the way around the edge of my fabric. Okay, next I'm going to take the cardboard template, and this, you can see the print on the fabric and it's down, and this I can see the print on the cardboard, so that it goes right there, and you just center it. Okay, you're going to start pressing under on a long, smooth side, and I am just going to start right here, and you're just going to pull the fabric in right before you're going to press it. And if you leave the iron on there for any amount of time at all, it'll kind of stick to that cardboard. Now right here, if I wanted to have a nice indentation there, I would clip. But I don't clip until I'm almost there. See, I wouldn't clip if I was on the other side of the bird, or if I had a long way to go to get to that area. And you only clip inside curves or inside points, cleavages. And if they're very gentle curves, like right here, you might not need to clip, but I'm going to clip a little bit and I'll show you. And see how you just pull that fabric in so that it pleats nicely and still has a nice smooth edge. Okay, right here, I'm going to clip just a little bit, but I'm not going to go very deep. I'm still pretty far away from the edge of the cardboard. That's because I don't want to go too deep and have those clips show up on the seam allowance. I want them to be inside. It's okay when you do corners if you have parts of them hanging out. We call those dog ears. And then when it's all done, I give it one good press all over. And then I turn it over and look at it and give it another press. Now you need to just set it aside until it's all cooled off and dry. And usually it's dry, it's just super hot to handle. Okay, so now when you're ready to applique, you're going to just put your nail underneath the edge of that, and you're going to pop out the cardboard, and it's all turned and ready to stitch on. And you can press it again once you take the cardboard out if you'd like. Use a matching thread that matches your applique piece. And so you can do that with all of the shapes, most every shape you can do. Here's a flower that's all ready to go, and I would just iron this onto the fabric. Sorry, I had to grab my fabric. When there's a big crease in it, I would iron that out first and then place this on. The only thing that you have to remember when you're doing this is what direction you do and what side of the cardboard and what goes against what. So let's just refresh that. You're going to trace the pattern the right direction. You do not need to reverse it. Then you're going to iron the paper pattern onto the cardboard, and you're going to do it onto the brown part of the cardboard, not the printed side. Then you're going to tear off the freezer paper and use it as your pattern. You're going to iron that onto the corresponding piece of fabric and cut it out. Then you're going to tear this off, put it right side down, paint all your edges. You can see I'm not very neat when I paint. I just want to make sure that I've saturated that seam allowance. And then you can put this on, and you can tell by turning just where it's going to fit. See right there? Okay, and we'll start out here on a curved end. I can't clip that direction without burning myself here, so. And these are pretty gentle curves, so I'm not going to clip very deep. And see how nicely that'll just curve right around. You can kind of pull in ahead, and then with the edge of your iron, you can just smooth in all of that bulk around the outside curves. After you've got all the edges pressed, you set it aside to cool off and dry, and then you pop out the templates and you are ready to applique. And that is one version of template applique. Remember, if you don't have cardboard, you can use 3 layers of freezer paper. You would trace on one layer and then iron the 3 layers together when you cut them out. That is how you do template applique.